7 times lucky. The Tennessee Lottery. Game-changing fun.
Call. Skyhawk Talk. Coach Jason James joins us. UT Martin men's coach. How are you, Coach?
I'm okay now.
Hesitation.
Yeah, I'm okay now. Practice is over, so I'm all right.
Coach, I want to continue with the conversation I was having with Coach McMillan and your thoughts being the basketball scholar. As I was growing up, people would always say when you're on your home floor, you automatically have a 10-point advantage. What do you think it is from a number standpoint?
I think it varies from place to place. Mm-hmm. I think if you go play at Duke, you're probably up 15 right away.
From the tip.
Yeah, from the tip. I just think it's different. I don't think there's a set number. I mean, we went and played Mississippi Valley a few years back, and it was 10-0 before we even walked off the bus. We knew that going in. And we talked to our guys in that manner. Hey, we're down 10-0. We got to fight and scratch from down 10-0. So I think it's different for each venue. It's different for the fans. For each place, it's a different thing you have to overcome.
Without you naming names or mentioning specific schools, do some of the gyms in the Ohio Valley Conference, some of the arenas, have a bigger advantage than others when you walk in there because of the atmosphere and their fans?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah, I do too.
I think there's a distinct difference.
And I don't want to mention them because we're on the internet, but I could write them down and we would agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think there's a distinct difference between some schools in the league and other schools in the league, and you got to be ready to play every single night. But some places, man, are very, very hard.
You know, there's one place, and when their fans are into it, which they're not every year, but some years they are. It's even a little intimidating to me, and I'm a little broadcaster.
I mean, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that. And, we've been to places that not in our league, and over the past 10 years, where man, even as a coach, I'm a little bit hesitant. I'm a little bit nervous because they may get on me too.
Yeah.
I mean, Central Florida comes to mind, and they were on me bad. I didn't do anything, but they were on me hard, man. Missouri, I've been to games there.
Do you know what, though? When we played Missouri, one of the things I did in the pregame was go over and interview some of their students. And what surprised me is how knowledgeable they were about our team. Now, they heckled us, but you could tell they loved basketball, and they had made an effort to know the scouting report of the opponent. And these are fans.
I think that makes it worse, to be honest with you. I think when the fans know basketball and they know your team, I think it makes it worse because now they can heckle you on specific things. Somebody who doesn't know the game can just say something random and nobody will get it. But, man, when you know it, they can heckle on specific things that we're not doing or that we can't do.
Yeah.
And, I think it's worse.
Yeah. Some players thrive off of it. Not the majority, but some.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, and I probably shouldn't say this on the air, but sometimes I'd rather play on the road than play at home. Mm-hmm. I think there's a certain feeling, especially as a coach and as a player to an extent, when you can walk into somebody else's gym and just completely dominate them, and just completely take their heart out from the opening tip to the final buzzer. I think there's something to be said for that, and maybe that's me being weird. Maybe it's my pride. I mean, I'm not really sure what it is, but I like going into other people's gyms when they don't think, man, they're probably not very good or they can't beat us here, and playing fundamentally sound and just taking their heart. To me, that's a big part of it, man. I really enjoy that.
Looking back at Skyhawks who played well on the road, and I can't back this up statistically, I'm just going back to individual games. There were times when Lester was really good on the road. There were times when I thought Jeremy Kelly was really good on the road. Now, you may disagree with me, and you probably back it. I'm just coming to mind. And there were times when they both struggled on the road, too, and I remember those games also.
Yeah, those two guys were very, very good on the road, and I think that has a lot to do with what I'm talking about, taking your heart.
Yeah.
You know, those guys played to the crowd a little bit, especially Lester.
But we were at Jacksonville State, Coach. Lester was getting heckled during the women's game.
Oh, I mean, we were at TSU, and he actually stopped in the middle of the game and told the guys on the side they need to be quiet because it's going to be really painful for the guy guarding him, and it ended up being. But those guys have a lot of pride about themselves, and I think that comes down to mentally feeling like you're superior to that other team, especially in their gym, and those guys had that. Jeremy Jeremy and Lester were
Are
two
there
guys.
others?
Man, I'd really have to think about guys who played better on the road than at home. I mean, I can tell you guys who play better in practice than in games. That's probably easier for me to do than who played better better on the road. No, I think too, and people may not understand this, but for young players, I think it's hard to play at home. And I just think there's so many different distractions. They have to deal with their family coming to games, and they have to deal with their friends telling them, hey, man, you got to get 20 and 10 tonight. They have to deal with their professors saying, hey, good luck tonight, good game, have a good game. They got to deal with that through all the realm of a day, and they still have to eat their pregame, and they still have to go back to their dorm where they still see all of their friends. I mean, there's a lot that goes into a home game for a student-athlete. When you're on the road, you show up in the hotel, you go eat, you go to shoot around, you sit in the hotel and you just think about basketball. And you leave the hotel, you go eat your pregame, you just think about basketball. I mean, there's no other distraction. So sometimes, at least in the past few years, we've played better on the road. It's not because we don't like being at home, but the distractions are smaller on the road. And until those guys get older, man, I think that plays a big part in it.
It's the same for a broadcaster. I mean, on the road, I have a lot more responsibilities than I do at home.
Oh, I mean, it's the same for everybody.
And for the coach.
Yeah, I mean, on the road, I can watch tape and get ready for that opponent. But at home, there's so many different things.
Well, even
that
if
need
there's
to
a
go
problem, if there's some minute problem going on with a locker room or something, you might be called into it whenever you're.
Yeah, there ain't no might be about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll be.
I wish there was a might be sometimes.
But there will be.
Yeah.
That you're not going to ever deal with on the road.
Never have to
because
deal
it's
with
not
it.
your responsibility.
Never have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so it is. I mean, obviously, you like being at home. You know, there's something to be said in my opinion, for sleeping in your own bed the night before a game. You have a certain routine the night before a game. So obviously you like being at home. But boy, man, I'm an underdog by nature. I mean, I've been an underdog my whole life. People never thought that I would be a good basketball player, a good coach, a good anything. So for me to go on the road and to be an underdog, man, I like that. I mean, I really, really cherish that. You know, if you give me the best team anywhere and say, hey, you got to pick a place to play them, I'll play them at your place because I'll take my chances with my guys.
I like that.
That's just me. I mean, it's been hard to get them to play with the same energy at home as they do on the road. But I think it's because we're young and our distractions are greater here.
Another direction I want to go with this, and you may completely disagree with this, but there's something about sports at this level that it is a performance element. Now, some people like to be performers and get on a stage and they're in movies or on plays or whatever, and they like the attention. To me, basketball is basketball, but at the same time, you're performing on a stage in front of a lot of people. Most people don't go to work every day and have 15,000 people watch them type on their computer and turn in their sales sheet or whatever.
You're right.
And I can see where some players, again, you mentioned the practice players as opposed to the game players, may not be as good as that performance, or it might get in the way of their just playing basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're 110% correct. It's a lot easier to have a great practice than it is to have a great game, and the practices are twice as hard as the games will be. But at practices, you don't have an opposing team fan screaming at you saying you're no good, you can't dribble, you can't pass, you can't shoot. You don't have that. Your teammate may say that, but he's your teammate, and he's just trying to get inside your head. You don't pay any attention to it. But you go on the road, and now you got 20,000, 15,000, 20,000 strong screaming at you. Yeah, man, I mean, it's totally, totally different. And that also kind of plays a part into what we talk about a lot is, you know, I say it all the time. I want guys who can play in practice, but who can also play when the popcorn's popping and the sodas are flowing and the hot dogs are grilling and the hamburgers are being handed out and the nachos and the cheese are rolling. I want guys who can play in that setting too.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of guys who are great in practice and can't play in games, but there's also some guys that are vice versa.
Yeah.
Who aren't very good in practice, but man, they're really good in games. And it as a coach, it's hard to always get everybody on the same page because of the different personalities. But boy, it's nice to have guys who can play when the popcorn's popping.
When you scout players, and I guess particularly high school players, can you watch practice too, or are you mainly just watching their games?
Yeah, I mean, we can. We'd like to. We'd like to watch as many as we can, and we'd like to watch as many games as we can. We want to know everything about them. I mean, I want to know what makes him tick, what makes him play hard, what makes him not play hard, which is probably more important than what makes him play hard. But
will a high school coach be honest? Well, and they're biased because they want the best for their players, but will they lay it out there for you?
The good ones will.
Yeah.
The good ones will. The good ones won't pull any punches. They'll be honest with you because they know if they're not, we probably won't come back there and recruit any more of their guys. And that's a big thing with high school guys. But most of them will be. They'll be honest with us.
And at the junior college level, is it different?
I mean, the coaches aren't different. Coaches are coaches. They'll be honest with us to an extent. They're still trying to help their players. I think at the junior college level, when you recruit those guys, you get more of a sense. You know more of what you're getting. A junior college product a lot of times is the finished product. He's it. He ain't gonna get much better. I mean, he'll get better in our system, but when you watch him skill-wise, probably not. He's probably 19, 20, 21 years old. He can work on his range, but he's almost as good as he'll be. Whereas a freshman, you never know, man. I mean, he could get through the roof. And so junior college guys, you know more. Okay, I can expect this from this guy. I know I'm going to get this every day. High school guys, you don't know as much.
One final question. I'm just going to test you. I think I know your answer. You're a college coach, and you get to recruit some high school kid that you've heard's pretty good. You haven't seen him. I'll either let you watch him practice 10 times or play in 5 games. Which do you take, the 5 games you can watch or the 10 practices? And I've weighted it with more practices just to make it because I think if I made it even, it would be a no-brainer. You're thinking.
That's tough. That's tough because, like I said, I mean, we've had great practice players here. We've had those same players weren't any good in games. And on the flip side, we've had terrible practice players who are great in games. So that's tough. I mean, I'd probably like to see practice more than a game because, and I guess I'm putting that more on me in terms of I can get more out of him in a practice that maybe, hopefully, at some point will transfer into a game. So if I know what I'm getting in practice, I know the finished product, or maybe not the finished product, that's the wrong term, but if I know exactly what I'm getting in practice, then I know what I need to say or do or how I need to act to get him to be better for the games. So if I can get him to consistently perform in practice, hopefully performing in the game, second nature.
The other thing that confuses me that a skilled basketball observer like you, because you've watched so many games, understands immediately is the level of competition the player you're watching is playing against.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes for the average fan, you see a kid score 35, but you don't realize the guy who was guarding him was a terrible defender. Honestly. At the same time, you see him score 15 against a great defender, and that impresses you more than if he scores 35 against a really terrible, bad defender.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what a player averages in high school, to me, doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, you know, Jared Newsom is the fourth career leading scorer in the history of our school. Averaged 8 points a game in high school, averaged 9 in junior college. So that stuff doesn't matter to me, but we get a lot of phone calls about guys who get 25, 28 a night in single-A basketball where they're 6'2", and the other tallest guy is 5'9", and he's playing out of position. And so it's
but
really –
you see that and recognize that immediately, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we have to. That's our job.
Yeah.
You know, that's our job to be able to see
Because the only thing that
play.
matters to you is how is he going to match up against the OVC
No
defense?
question about it. I mean, there'll be players that we're recruiting that are 4-men in high school, but we know they'll be 3s when they get to us. So we can't pay attention to their post-up game or, you know, how their post moves. We got to pay attention to how they are bringing the ball up. If they take the ball out of bounds and the point guard throws it back to them, can they handle those kind of things? And we got to be able to do it very quickly. I mean, it's hard evaluating talent. I mean, I'm just being honest. At any level, man, it's really, really hard to evaluate talent.
But this is what's different for me. I mean, we just saw Ball State and Central Arkansas at the Elam Center this past week, and I could ask you if they were in the OVC, where would they probably finish at the end of the season? And you wouldn't have to think very long. You would know. I would really have to study that, though.
Oh, yeah, but that's how we compare them.
Right.
I mean, being honest. You know, I mean, I think Central Arkansas could finish probably from anywhere from 6 on up, and I think Ball State could probably finish anywhere between 3rd on up, just because
I
their
kind of thought
execution.
so too, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not so confident with my assessment.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and again, you know, when you've been in the league a long time, man, and you watch so much tape on every school in it, you know what an OVC player is. I mean, we know what an OVC player is. Miles Taylor, we knew he's going to be a great OVC player. Now, Miles may not be as good in Conference USA. He can play in that league, but he may not be as good. He's a great OVC player. We're able to find that out right away and then pounce on him and try to sign him.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll come back and talk with more with Jason James when we return on the Skyhawk Sports Network.